Hello. Welcome to my channel Touching Stories. You're about to hear an amazing story about love and unexpected decisions. Enjoy watching.
Selena Stone was not one of those born with a golden spoon in her mouth. Her childhood was cloudless until the age of 5, but alas, Selena did not remember it. But she did remember her mom being away for a long time. The next distinct memory was her father's weeping face and Grandma Leslie's words, spoken in a mournful voice. "She's done for. She's well now." Little Selena felt rather than realized that her father and grandmother were talking about her mother, but she couldn't understand why they were crying if mommy was well. And Selena didn't know what the word exhausted meant, but she was afraid to ask. A few days later, Harvey told his daughter that mommy was in heaven. God took her, he explained with a sad smile. Would God let her come to us? Selena asked. How nice it is to be a child, thought Harvey, envying her heartily. Selena misses her mother, of course, but I wish I could believe that Anna was in heaven. No, honey, there's no coming back from there, the young widower shook his head regretfully. But Mom will always be with us. Always, always, the little girl asked hopefully, hugging her father around the neck. Always, always, replied the man, trying hard not to cry. It's been 10 years. It smells so good. I can smell it from the street. Harvey, who came back from work, said cheerfully, What are you feeding me tonight? Your favorite borscht, Selena said proudly. I also made a pie, with fish. We're going to have a feast. Dad rubbed his hands together. Aha, she said happily. So wash your hands and come to the table. The pie must be soft by now. It's delicious. Harvey went to the bathroom, and the daughter, having poured borscht on plates and topped it with sour cream, began to cut the pie. As always, super, said the father, finishing the second piece of pie. You'll be lucky to be your husband, and you are a beauty and clever and a hostess. You're a real treasure. Come on, Selena jokingly waved Selena away and decided to say something nice to her father too. The only man who has my heart is you. Well, that's now, Harvey grinned. But when you fall in love with some guy and forget about your dad. But that's not going to happen, the girl said firmly. There are a lot of guys on Ariana, but my father is the only one. Harvey looked at her lovingly and thought how lucky he was to have a daughter, although on second thought, wasn't that to his credit? Anna would be proud of Selena, Harvey thought for the umpteenth time. For the first month after his wife's death, Harvey didn't feel like living, but the thought that a motherless 5-year-old girl needed his care, love, and affection gave him strength. And his mother and mother-in-law helped to raise the little girl. Otherwise, there is no telling what would have become of them. From time to time, Harvey caught himself in a shameful desire to get drunk and forget himself. Selena had grown up to be a clever girl and a good hostess, and God had not spoiled her with beauty. As she grew older, she looked more and more like her late mother, with the same weirdish, slightly reddish curls, bright green eyes, light, soft, sun-sensitive skin, and slim figure. It was as if Anna had come back to us, Grandma Maria often said, and tears came to her eyes. Having lost her daughter, the old woman transferred all her love to her granddaughter, who reciprocated it. Selena also loved Grandma Nadia. However, with the grandmother on her mother's side, they had a special bond. 2 years ago, Grandma Maria did not become, and a little later, Grandma Leslie passed away as well. Grandfathers on both sides had long since passed away. Evan, Harvey's older brother who worked in the police force, had been killed in the line of duty, and Anna was the only daughter of her mother-in-law. And so it came to pass that Selena and her father were left alone in all of Ariana. Father and daughter lived soul to soul. Harvey worked as a mining engineer in a mine. Selena studied, skillfully managed the household, and spoiled her father with delicious food. It seemed like it would always be like that. Selena, I need to have a serious talk with you, her father said one day. Harvey's tone didn't bode well, so she asked, Is something wrong? No, Dad sighed. I mean, yes. Anyway, Selena, you're almost an adult now. You understand everything. I've met a woman and I plan to propose to her. That's the way it is. Harvey smiled awkwardly, but noticing how his daughter's face stretched, looked at her intently. Selena, are you all right? He asked anxiously. and the girl suddenly felt a pinch in her nose. "Just don't cry," Selena repeated mentally to herself. "Just don't cry." "Selena, hello?" her father called out. "Can you hear me?" "Yes," Selena replied distantly. "Is everything all right?" "What do you think?" she asked abruptly. "Selena, what's wrong?" "And you ask?" "Mom in the grave, and you?" The girl could no longer hold back her tears and sobbed bitterly. Harvey stroked her hair, but Selena shook her head and pulled away. "Selena," the father began gently, "but you can't bring Mom back, and life goes on." "Did you ever love Mommy?" her daughter exclaimed in a low voice. Harvey realized that she was becoming hysterical and was confused. He had no idea how to behave in such a situation. His daughter, always so sensible, refused to realize that widowers fall in love, and life does not stand still. However, being a man of intelligence, Harvey realized that now he just had to find the right tone. Selena is jealous, and if you add to that the age of transition, in general, the situation is not easy. "Selena, what kind of question is that?" exclaimed Harvey, barely containing his anger. "Of course I loved your mom, loved her more than life, but she's gone. I am. And I did. Selena, my girl, do I really want so much?" The girl was silent. Large tears were running down her cheeks. "She just needs time," Harvey thought. "Selena, well, he's not an old man yet. He needs a woman," exhorted her neighbor Ariana, to whom she sometimes resorted. The lonely woman was happy to host this pretty girl who had been left motherless so early. Ariana served her tea with cakes and other pastries, and they talked a lot. Now Celine told her older friend about her sorrows, and she tried to cheer her up as best she could. "But I do all the housework, I cook for him, and we've always been good together." "That's true," Ariana nodded. "But love for a child and love for a woman are very different things. You'll grow up, you'll meet your soulmate, and Daddy will be alone. Have you thought about that?" "No," Selena admitted. "Just the thought of living with my stepmother makes me uncomfortable." "Well, to me, it's natural and normal," said the neighbor. "After all, you have to live with another woman, but that doesn't mean it's going to be bad." "Ariana, do you like your dad?" Selena asked. "What does that have to do with me?" The woman was confused. "You just answer, do you like him or not?" insisted the girl. Ariana was visibly embarrassed, obviously thinking about something of her own. That gave Selena an interesting thought. "Well, he's a good man," the neighbor replied after a moment's silence. "I think you and Daddy could be together," Selena said. "That would be great." Ariana blushed, which finally convinced the girl that her hunch was correct. "Well, these things don't happen on demand," Ariana said, overcome with embarrassment. "Too bad," Selena said with a sigh. "And then, what makes you so sure you can't get along with I am your father's woman?" "I don't know. Maybe it's just a prejudice against stepmothers." She shrugged and smiled. "I read a lot of fairy tales as a child." "That's just it." Ariana smiled back. "Come on, Selena, it's not all bad. You'll still be laughing about our conversation." "Well, let's hope you're right." As soon as she looked at Harvey's girlfriend, Selena realized that her hopes of them becoming a family were in vain. She wasn't going to be able to be friends with this woman. The stepmother candidate's name was Jessica. It was a name that really suited her. Harvey's favorite woman had smooth as silk, straight hair of a cool blonde shade, and bright blue eyes. Jessica was undoubtedly very beautiful and well-groomed, but she was cold. Even though it was the middle of May, Selena suddenly felt a chill in the room. Jessica reminded her of the Snow Queen from a fairy tale. "Jessica, try the pickles," Harvey suggested with a silly smile. Selena did the pickling. "She's my handy woman." The stepmother-to-be smiled indulgently, but took a piece of pickle. "She doesn't care about my talents," Selena shouted mentally. "She doesn't care about me at all." "Jesus, Dad, what do you see in her? She's so fake." This is Ariana. By the time she was 36, Ariana had never had a family or children. She'd had a foolish, hasty marriage, but she couldn't call her and Archie a family. She'd rather forget about that marriage. Good thing they didn't have children. The young couple lived in a dormitory, and after the divorce, Ariana returned to her father's house. A few years later, her grandmother died and left her the apartment. When Ariana first saw her neighbor, who lived in the apartment across the hall, she thought, What an interesting man. Coincidentally, he was the first member of the stronger sex she had noticed after her divorce. Yes, Angelica nodded and asked dryly, "Do you have something against children?" "Well, why not?" The young woman shrugged her shoulders. "I love children, but I'm not ready for a relationship with a man. It's just that a few years ago I got divorced." "And a few years?" The neighbor was surprised and winked. "It's about time you got your life together. The further into the forest, the more wood. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about." Ariana realized Angelica was right, and judging by her elderly neighbor's heavy sigh, she was clearly referring to her own experience. But if only life were scripted. Harvey paid no attention to Ariana, and there was nothing she could do about it. The heart can't help it. Soon Ariana had the opportunity to meet Harvey's daughter. The girl lost her key and having made, probably, the 10th circle around the yard in despair, fell on the bench. Ariana was returning from the store at the time, and in her hands were 2 impressive bags of groceries. The young woman put the bags on the bench and, noticing the dejected expression on her neighbor's daughter's face, asked, "Is something wrong?" "I lost my key," the girl replied with a sigh, "and Daddy is out of town and will be only in the evening." "It's a shame, but not fatal," Ariana said with a smile. "Of course, it's easy for you to say," said the young lady, who had won her sympathy without realizing it. "Well, you can wait for your father at my place," the young woman suggested, "and I will not embarrass you." "Well, if I offer, then you will not embarrass," laughed Ariana. "Come on, let's go." "Can I help you?" Selena asked, watching her neighbor unpacking the bags. "No thanks." Ariana shook her head with a smile. "You're my guest. You're not hungry, by the way?" "A little," the girl replied shyly. "Then I can offer you sandwiches and tea, and later I'll cook something more substantial. Deal?" "Okay," nodded the young guest. Selena had never eaten such delicious sandwiches before. They were more like mini pizzas made of fresh crispy loaf, sausage, tomatoes, and cheese, sprinkled with fragrant basil and dill. "I should take notes," Selena thought, destroying her 5th sandwich. "Simple, quick, and delicious." Nibbled, the girl said contentedly. "The roast will be ready in about 10 minutes, smiled the gracious hostess. "I think if I eat one bite, I'll burst," Selena complained. And yet she tasted the delicious roast. "Super," sincerely praised Ariana's cooking. "Can you give me the recipe?" "Why not? Do you cook?" "Well, who else would cook when Daddy's at work?" She hummed, just like a grown woman. "And she's probably about 12 years old. Well, 13. What's there to be surprised about, though? Kids who lose their parents early grow up faster." "Right?" Ariana nodded. "Sorry, I wasn't thinking." "It's okay," Selena waved her hand. "My grandmothers taught me how to cook. But they taught me the basics, like how to fry or boil potatoes, soup, porridge, scrambled eggs. Well, over time I learned to cook unusual dishes. I find recipes on the internet." "That's right, my neighbor picked up on that. There is no shortage of recipes there." "And that's great." "It's great." The grown woman and the teenage girl chatted about everything and nothing, and both felt like they had known each other for a long time. They didn't notice the evening had fallen, and they came to their senses when Selena's cell phone rang. "Daddy, I'm fine. I'm at Aunt Ariana's," the girl reported cheerfully. "No, not at all. At our neighbor's across the street. She's great. I'm looking forward to it." The girl's father arrived half an hour later. When Ariana saw him up close, she felt embarrassed. She desperately wanted to look in the mirror and see if everything was all right. "Thank you," the man said politely, looking appreciatively at her neighbor. "I'm sorry, I don't know your name." "My name is Ariana," she answered and blushed like a schoolgirl. "And I'm Harvey," smiled the neighbor. "So we've met." "Yes," the young woman whispered. "Well, good night, and thank you for everything." Father and daughter left, and Ariana went to the mirror and looked at herself meticulously. She had a beautiful face of Slavic type, and her thick and long hair, of which Ariana wove intricate braids or made elegant knots, brought to mind real beauties. The main adornment of her face were radiant blue eyes, framed by long, thick lashes. Lips were also good, bright, well-defined, and as if a little swollen. The figure, perhaps a little large, but hardly anyone would call Ariana fat. She had wide hips, and sometimes Ariana hated them. but she had a waist and no belly. By the way, many men find such a figure very appetizing, though Ariana, in her heart of hearts, wanted to be slimmer. What nonsense, snorted her friend Katie Golubieva when Ariana asked her the next day if she knew any effective diets. You have a great figure. Oh, come on, Kathy, Ariana said thoughtfully. My figure is a bit of an amateur. Anyway, I'd like to make some adjustments. What's there to adjust? Well, if you start losing weight, your magnificent breasts will deflate in no time. And Madame Sitsu will be saggy. It's a crime to destroy such a luxury. Why are you so Tova? Tuck deeply stretched her friend, staring intently at Ariana. Well, confess, are you in love? No way. Yes, I am in love, Katie said. Tell me. There's not much to tell, Ariana shrugged. Well, that can't be true, disagreed her friend. What do you mean there's nothing to tell? What's your name? Where did you meet? How many years? Where does she work? Well, you're bombarding me with questions, she grinned. Interesting. I don't know much about him myself, Ariana admitted. His name is Harvey, a widower, about 38 or 40 years old. He works as a mining engineer at the mine. We met in my apartment. That's an interesting way for a girl to dance, Katie giggled. You know where he works. They met in your apartment and there's nothing to tell. Or it was a casual, oh mommy, I don't recognize you. Ariana shook her head and told her friend about meeting Harvey. Well, then you need to make friends with his daughter and everything will go as usual, summarized her friend. It's not nice to use the baby, she said, looking at her watch. I agree, it's not nice. But if you and the girl have a mutual sympathy, then your chances of getting closer to this Harvey grow in times. So you don't have to use anyone. Ariana had a hastily eaten lunch, closed in her office with a little over 5 minutes to go before the end of the break. Maybe, she said, Katie, why don't we call tonight and talk it over? Because I'm running out of lunch hour. No problem. By the way, I'll swing by. Mine's going fishing and the offspring are staying at grandma's tonight. That's great. I'd recommend keeping the weight loss idea, Katie said, looking at her friend, but the image could use some work. What's wrong with my image? Ariana asked. Everything is, but no offense, you're always the same. And the image needs to be refreshed from time to time. You have gorgeous hair, but your buns, knots, and braids make you look older. Anyway, you could use a haircut. You're suggesting I cut my hair off, she gasped. Well, no, I don't think I can do that. It's a pity. Calm down. No one is suggesting to get rid of your luxurious hair. But if you cut it long, I assure you, your Harvey will appreciate it. Now for the makeup. Pink lipstick is refreshing, but it's so boring. And today there are so many stylish shades. You want to brighten up. You want to keep it low-key, matte, creamy, with the effect of wet lips. By the way, you look great with nude makeup. Would you mind if I went through your makeup bag a little? Please, Ariana said with a shrug. Only you won't find anything special in there. I don't doubt that, she grinned and began her revision. Oh well, this is pretty much how I imagined it. Why don't I see any red lipstick? Well, probably because it's not there. Why isn't it there? Well, because I'm used to pink. Aha! But you don't wear the same dress to work and to a party, do you? Katie squinted. Well, and why do you have only one lipstick, and that though noble but terribly boring color? By the way, there are many shades of pink, but we are talking about the eternal classic, that is, about red lipstick. So why don't you have it? Why are you bothering me with your red lipstick? I don't think it's good for me. Well, and I always thought that red lipstick was only for women of easy virtue. Katie suggested it. Well, yeah, pretty much. Both of those things are wrong, said her friend admonishingly. Red lipstick suits everyone unless, of course, you have pimples, and other horrors on your face and your teeth are rotten. You got both of those things, right? Well, sort of, nodded Ariana. Sort of, mockingly mocked her friend. Now, about women of easy virtue. They may like a little more color, but that red lipstick is exclusively their prerogative is stereotypical. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Haven't you ever wanted to try something new? Katie exclaimed in bewilderment. I assure you, if you put on a little more lipstick, you'll attract a lot of men. They're like children. They pay attention to everything bright. The lecture went on for over an hour. Arushka criticized Ariana for the lack of highlighter, concealer, and other newfangled ladies' tricks, advised to make a haircut cascade, to make it expressive with the help of melting, to buy a few blouses of juicy colors and high-heeled shoes. "Do I have to?" Ariana asked apprehensively. "It's just that I can't remember the last time I wore high heels." "You'll remember," Katie said flatly, "and yes, you should." The next day, Ariana followed all of her friends' recommendations. She went to the hair salon shopping, and her efforts were not in vain. "My goodness, Ariana, I didn't recognize you," Angelica gasped. "Listen, well, beautiful." "Thank you," mumbled embarrassed Ariana, and the neighbor asked meaningfully, "Decided, huh?" "What do you mean, Angelica?" She laughed merrily. "It's good for a woman to change her image from time to time." Well, yes, ironically, said the old woman and went to the store around the corner. On Fridays, they have promotions for senior citizens, and she had to hurry or she wouldn't get anything. Ariana shook her head with a smile and disappeared into the entryway. That evening, her doorbell rang. Wondering who it could be, Ariana went to open the door. A smiling Selena stood on the doorstep. "May I come in?" she asked. "Well, of course you can," answered the hostess cordially. "Come in, I'll make you some tea." "Ariana, you are so beautiful," with admiration said the girl. "Do you have some kind of holiday?" "I just decided to change my image," smiled the young woman, flattered by the compliment. "That's a good thing," Selena said approvingly. "It suits you very well." The tea party was lively. Her new friend talked about her progress at school, and Ariana nodded with a smile. She suddenly felt like, well, no, it was a shame to even think about it. From that day on, they became firm friends. Selena came almost every day, and Ariana never tired of admiring this amazing grown-up girl. When she talked about what she was going through, she didn't just share her worries, she laid it all out. Selena talked a lot about her father, and according to her, the man's heart was free. Except that Harvey was in no hurry to give it to anyone. He politely greeted Ariana, and once helped her carry heavy bags of groceries to the apartment. And that was it. There was no suggestion of a closer acquaintance. Ariana suffered in silence, but she didn't show it. And only the perceptive Angelica guessed what was going on in the young woman's soul. So 2 years passed. One day, on a bad day in Ariana's life, Selena came to her once again and tragically told her about her father's possible marriage. It was very painful, but she realized that it was even worse for the girl. Although Ariana's heart was tearing apart, she found the strength to comfort the girl. Upon seeing Harvey's fiancée, Ariana's spirits dropped. One look at Jessica was enough to realize that she was a bitch. But alas, that didn't change anything. Harvey had chosen this, as Selena had dubbed her stepmother to be the Snow Queen, and all Ariana had to do was put up with it. Needless to say, Jessica was a beautiful, slender, and very well-groomed young woman. Ariana, alas, would never be like that. Well, if she's so beautiful, why hasn't she found a childless man? Katie asked reasonably. How would I know? Maybe she's in love. It's been 2 years, and he's got no emotions. So is it worth wasting time? Although Katie said it was still early in the day, and Ariana should have taken the initiative, she decided to give up. Jack from the neighboring department was a nice guy. Maybe it's a case of drive a wedge with a wedge. From acquaintance with the future stepmother on the soul left a dirty residue. Selena hadn't really expected anything else, but she didn't expect this woman to be so tactless. "Darling, what kind of dress are you wearing?" Jessica asked with a sweet smile, but Selena could feel a catch in her skin. "It's just an ordinary youth dress," she shrugged. The girl was wearing a light chiffon dress in coffee and milk color with touching white polka dots. It had a gembot on the chest and ruffles on the sleeves and hem. "Aha," Jessica said it condescendingly, "dressy. Just a dress for an angular teenage girl, devoid of coquetry and femininity. A girl who's all girly girl wouldn't wear one of those." "And what would a girl like that wear?" Selena asked with a hidden chuckle, thinking, "What a trendsetter. Her dress is more like a nightie and not really suitable for meeting her future husband's daughter." Jessica was clearly confused, but Selena looked at her expectantly. "Well, something more elegant," she replied. "Specifically," she asked, pretending not to notice her father's displeased look. For example, a dress fuller. I'll still have time to wear the dress, Selena parried. 10 years from now, I'll follow your advice. For now, I want something more airy and romantic. Don't you agree with me? Come on, I'm not worried. I mean, we're from different generations. Oh, come on. Jessica didn't finish. Harvey jumped in. All Selena meant to say was that every age has its own fashion, he said conciliatorily, but his daughter couldn't help noticing the evil light in his eyes. I'm sure he's going to give me a fight, she thought. To hell with him. He saw perfectly well that his Snow Queen started it first. Are you saying I'm old and don't know anything about youth fashion? Jessica asked. Well, why be so categorical? Selena grinned. Every age has its charms, and you and I are not the same age. The girl's got a bit of a temper, Jessica thought. She doesn't even know who she's dealing with. What have you done here? Harvey reprimanded his daughter after she left. What did I do? Selena exclaimed. Daddy, and you did not confuse anything? You heard the whole thing. I did, he nodded, but you could have been nicer to Jessica. Why the sarcasm? And let her know that I won't let her hurt me. The girl said stubbornly and added, I'm going to bed. I'm dead tired. After washing her face and brushing her teeth, Selena settled into bed and let the tears flow. If only Mom were alive, she thought as she fell asleep. Don't give a damn, Selena was advised by her friend Vika. She's just jealous of your youth and beauty. She's also mad that your father adores you and is proud of you. She sleeps and sees that Uncle Harvey belongs only to her. Is she pretty? Selena just shrugged her shoulders. She looks ordinary to me, just tuning. Dyed hair, false eyelashes, nails, pouty lips. In general, the standard set. Not much to look at. Well, you see, that's what you need to prove. All she's got to do is tune up. Yeah. Harvey hadn't mentioned his fling after the viewing, but his daughter knew it was just for the time being. Maybe it's not too late to replay it, thought Selena hopefully. Daddy? Yes? Can I ask you a question? Go ahead. Dad said it's okay. Do you like Ariana? Ariana? Harvey asked, not immediately realizing who he was talking about. Dad, it's your decision, she interrupted, something she'd never allowed herself to do. You love Jessica. I hope she loves you. And if things work out, well, I'll be glad. Harvey was very touched. How my girl has grown up, he thought, and said excitedly, Thank you, daughter. You have no idea how important it was for me to hear you say that. Selena smiled and father and daughter embraced. After the marriage, Jessica moved into the Stones' apartment. There was no conflict between stepmother and stepdaughter, but Selena felt like it was the calm before the storm. And she was absolutely right. Jessica, it's been ages. She heard a gruff female voice and grumbled unhappily. No, Jessica had nothing against Betty, who was known in certain circles as Betty, but she didn't need to talk to her and other characters from her past life. Hello, Betty, she smiled falsely. The ladies met outside the boutique of the central hypermarket and looked at each other appraisingly. How do you live and breathe? Betty asked. They say you've retired from business? That's right, Jessica nodded. I'm a respectable, married woman now. That's right, sniggered the friend with the eloquent nickname. Well, congratulations, between us girls. Did you have anything to go with? Who's your husband? My husband's a mining engineer. Isn't that a little small? Well, my dear, Jessica grinned. Oligarchs, alas, not about our honor. They want something younger, fresher. And with our biography. Don't say that, said Betty intriguingly. Remember Lucy? You know, the black one, the tall one. Oh, you're comparing her. How old is this Lucy? 23? About that. Uh-huh. And you and me? That's it. Besides, she hasn't had time to get her biography dirty. Yes, Betty sighed. Well, how long have you been a respectable matron? It's our wedding anniversary in a week, Jessica said proudly. And how old is your husband? Betty, what's with the interrogation? She asked with a chuckle. Well, why the interrogation? I too, maybe, I want to start a new life. So I'm wondering, analyzing, so to speak. You have a right to do that, Jessica nodded, thinking that Betty was probably not the right person. Although, what the hell is not kidding? So my husband is 41 years old. He is a widower, has a 16-year-old daughter. That's it. You and your stepdaughter getting along. More or less, she answered evasively and, referring to urgent matters, hurriedly left. If you want to start a new life, cut off everything that is connected with the old, said a wise woman. Golden words, by the way. Jessica did just that. Yes, her biography is not flawless, but after all, everyone has the right to his place under the sun. Jessica reached her favorite cafe and ordered a coffee with cognac and plunged into thought. There was something to think about. Jessica had always dreamed of a beautiful life. But what kind of a beautiful life can you talk about if you are the daughter of simple and honest rural workers? Harry and Anna loved Jessica and her younger brother Naomi very much, but didn't understand them. The children wanted to get everything that Zero offered, and the sooner the better. Their parents were convinced that if a person was fed, clothed, and clothed, there was nothing else to worry about. When Jessica finished school, she went to enter the regional technical college, but she was not lucky. "I'm not coming back," she told her mother when she called. "What are you going to do?" Anna asked. "I got a job as a waitress in a restaurant." "Well, where will you live?" surprised the parent. "I met a girl, I'll stay with her for a while, then I'll rent an apartment." In fact, there was no girl, and I was to live in the back room. But her parents didn't need to know about it, otherwise they would immediately demand that Jessica go home. What would she do there? In their village, there are no decent suitors. The regional center is another matter. Well, working in a restaurant gave some chance to meet a wealthy groom. Jessica wasn't beautiful, but she had the figure of a model. She knew very well that not all men look at the face, which if you have money, you can make a candy. And Jessica would definitely have them. With rich suitors did not add up, but she was offered a job. Jessica did not immediately realize what kind of work it was. And when the girl realized, she decided to refuse. You will always have time to refuse. But from what? From the prospect of living like a white man instead of being the servant. Only something tells me that's what you came here for. I got a good eye. And by the way, you got potential. And so Jessica became a love priestess. She continued to work as a waitress for her parents. A month later, she was unrecognizable. Jessica had a rhinoplasty and her wide nose became chiseled. Not too thick blonde hair became platinum, and with the help of salon procedures and special products, perfectly smooth and silky. The makeup artist taught Jessica how to use makeup to enlarge her small eyes and make them more expressive. Now she looked like a picture from a fashion magazine, but her parents shrugged their shoulders indifferently at the sight of their beautiful, lavish daughter. "It's all tinsel," Anna said, either about Jessica's new image or about the gifts she'd brought. She wasn't offended in the least. The new job had weaned Snow from taking offense at all, or any other feelings, for that matter. The spectacular, blonde, long-legged girl was in high demand and earned accordingly. Jessica wore only brand-name clothes, went to the most expensive hairdressers, became a regular at fancy restaurants. After a few years of work, she began to think about opening her own company. Why not? The competition is growing up, and Jessica is not getting any younger. So it's done. She saved up some money, opened her own firm, and it must be said, her business went uphill. Naomi's brother got involved with Jessica. Guy was in charge of security for the office. It was a family contract. Jessica was euphoric. Life was good. In a year and a half, she'd saved up for a brand new Mazda. And even though Jessica lived in a rented apartment, she was sure the day when her elegant hands will ring the keys to her own apartment is not far off. Jessica imagined entering her apartment more and more often, but her dream remained a dream. One day, Jessica received a call from Gina, a young man from the roof, and informed about the raid, and at the same time about the fact that one of her colleagues had been caught and in all likelihood would earn a sentence. Up to 5 years, he concluded with a sigh. The instinct of self-preservation prevailed over greed, and Jessica and Kostya, having announced to the girls that the activities of the organization were temporarily suspended, lurked in their native village. In fact, they did not think of resuming work. They did not want to go to the zone, and the brother and sister decided to start a new life, in which there is no place for crime. Thankfully, they had some savings. Well, and there, as the map falls. Konstantin, not thinking long, went to the husband for an hour. He, honorably, registered as a sole proprietorship, and began to earn. Later, the guy attracted a couple of similarly handy young people. "Maybe you'll come to me as an administrator," he offered his sister. "Why? You could take orders." "Thank you, of course, but I have other plans for my life," Jessica refused. The former leisure worker had completed a paid secretarial course. After several unsuccessful job attempts, she finally got lucky. Jessica got a job in the human resources department of one of the mines in the city. There she met Harvey Stone, a mining engineer. Jessica learned that he was a widower and was raising a teenage daughter. At first, the presence of an underage daughter, to put it mildly, did not inspire a young woman, but then she decided that it is not a hindrance. And otherwise, Harvey Stone is what the doctor ordered. He's not a poor man. His character is calm. Well, she can handle a snot-nosed girl like that. It's just a matter of getting to know him no matter what. But how? The white dance at the corporate party. Trite and corny. Feeding Nicola. Well, the last thing in the world Jessica wanted to do was to advertise herself as some kind of cook. The young woman racked her brains for a long time and finally decided that there would be food in a day. Let everything go as it comes. Jessica is a prominent girl, and Stone is in the waiting room almost every day. She'd just be nice to Harvey, have a couple of flirtations, and things would move forward. It turned out exactly as Jessica had predicted. When Harvey visited the reception area, the blonde secretary smiled with all 32 teeth, and if it was necessary to wait, served him coffee with delicious candy or tartlets from the restaurant. The charming engineer flirted with Jessica with apparent pleasure, and she felt a little more in Harvey Stone in her pocket. And here he is in the waiting room with a gorgeous bouquet of roses of delicate coral color. "Hello, Jessica," Harvey greeted the receptionist. "Hello, Harvey," she smiled, looking at the bouquet with interest. "Jessica, these are for you," Stone said, a little embarrassed, and handed her the flowers. "Thank you," Jessica nodded. "Very pretty flowers. What's the occasion?" "Nothing," he said. "I just wanted to give a beautiful woman flowers and take her out to a restaurant. What do you say to that?" "Harvey, I'd love to go to a restaurant with you, but I'm afraid I have a lot to do today." Jessica didn't really have anything to do, but the slate lady wanted to get her price up, and she seemed to have succeeded. "Perhaps some other day then," Harvey asked with sincere regret, suddenly looking like a resentful child. "We'll see," Jessica smiled, so sure that the man would never leave her. They went to the restaurant 3 days later. That night, Harvey confessed that he had liked Jessica for a long time and a relationship had developed between them that led to marriage. Jessica was not happy about cohabiting with Harvey's daughter and decided to get rid of her at the first opportunity. Jessica saw it this way. She would provoke a conflict, another, a third. The girl would be insolent, and she would only have to convince Harvey to isolate her daughter away from them. Jessica didn't care where her husband would put her. She could go to hell. But why be so drastic? There are boarding schools for troubled teens or something. Jessica had to convince her husband that his beloved Selena was one. But when she first saw Harvey's daughter, she knew open conflict wasn't an option. No, here you need to be more cunning and act more subtle. In general, Jessica decided to take a wait-and-see attitude. The right opportunity will definitely present itself. The main thing is to recognize it and act without delay. The young woman realized that Selena was not a stupid girl, even more than that. Jessica knew for a fact that her stepdaughter preferred to stay out of trouble, for she realized that a bad peace was better than a good quarrel. That meant the wait might be long, but Jessica didn't mind. It was definitely worth the gamble, and she knew how to wait. Jessica finished her coffee and cognac, and after a moment's thought, ordered another drink. August had been terribly cold, and she was freezing. Besides, Jessica wanted to think alone. The ringing of her cell phone interrupted her thoughts. "Yes, darling," she answered with tenderness in her voice. "What are you doing? I miss you." "What exactly are you doing?" "Oh, nothing much. I shopped at the mall, decided to take a break at a coffee shop." "Oh, I see. Jessica, I'm gonna be late tonight, so don't expect dinner." Well, you know I can't sleep without you," she said in a sweetly spritzy voice. "What can you do?" Harvey said with feigned sadness. "Work." After chatting with her husband for another 5 minutes, Jessica finished her coffee and went out. She heard a familiar voice and almost dropped her purse. What a day, Jessica thought, wrinkling her nose in annoyance. Are they in cahoots or what? Standing before her was none other than Johnny, one of her business partners, so to speak. We're trying, Jessica replied dryly, making it clear that she had neither the time nor the inclination to keep the conversation going. She didn't lead the business and get married to be met with characters from her past life at every turn. Well done, Johnny smiled. Jessica, there's a topic. Johnny, I really don't have much time, she said with slight irritation. If you really have something to say, then say it. Okay. Johnny nodded with a resigned expression and added with a lewd chuckle, I realize time is money. Jessica suddenly wanted to smack her ex-boyfriend upside the head, but something told her that Johnny really had something to say. In general, there is one rich and wealthy man and wants to order a super-duper beauty who would look fresh and innocent. Well, what's that got to do with me? Jessica asked, perplexed. I suppose you know that I'm out of it. Well, and for all my high opinion of myself, I have to say that I'm going to pass for, I am, fresh and innocent. She couldn't help but burst out laughing. But I don't advise you to laugh. Your innocence, hey, is not claimed by anyone. But maybe in your new surroundings there's someone who can pass for a songbird and wants to make a good living. Jessica, huh? It's a lot of money, by the way. How much? Jessica asked with feigned indifference. Actually, she had an idea for something, but she'd been trying to make up for it, true to her principle. Now we're talking business. Johnny was happy and turned his smartphone to Jessica, dialing a number on the screen. Johnny, let's do this, she said. I need to think about something and I'll call you tomorrow. Okay? No problem. How long are you gonna think about it? Let's say a couple days. Is that okay? Johnny thought about it. Well, in principle, yes. Phone number hasn't changed, I take it. No. Well, that's good. Bye-bye. I'll call you back in a couple days. Jessica watched the television and watched Selena searching the closet for something. It was probably the first time in a year that her stepmother had looked at her not as an obnoxious stepdaughter, but as a beautiful girl. What's more, Selena was indeed very pretty and, more importantly, fresh-faced. But what about experience? Thought Jessica. By the way, she's already 16, the age of consent, and Selena is beautiful. Selena? What? The stepdaughter asked without emotion as she continued her search. Can I ask you one, intimate question? What are you looking for? Is that your intimate question? Selena grinned. Yes, I mean no. Jessica shook her head, frantically thinking of how to ask the question more delicately. Her stepdaughter looked at her with interest, and Jessica asked, Selena, between us girls, have you ever been intimate with a guy? Why would you? The girl rounded her eyes and suddenly blushed. However, thought the stepmother with surprise. And how was that to be understood? Well, just curious, said Jessica nonchalantly. And that's my own business, Selena replied with dignity and retired to her room. She was puzzled, to say the least. And what fly has bitten her, thought the girl. Having suspected her stepdaughter's lack of innocence, Jessica was not far from the truth. One day, when her father reprimanded Selena for some stiletto to her stepmother, the girl ran away from home. She'd wandered wherever she was and hadn't even noticed Tony, who was holding her hand and saying something. Selena said absent-mindedly, looking at the guy thoughtfully. She knew she had liked Pasha for a long time, and a stray thought popped into her head. Where, I say, are you going? Asked the admirer. Tony, and you want me? Asked the girl, ignoring his question. What are you doing? Tony was confused. Do you want me or not? Selena asked defiantly. I'd have offered twice. Well, that. It was easy to guess from the guy's face that he was ready to accept her offer, but he saw some kind of trick in it. Selena realized this and took the initiative. They ended up in the den where the youths were hanging out. What's gotten into me, thought Selena when she got home. It wasn't until she fell asleep that she realized it was a protest. Then, of course, there were hints that it would be good to do it again, but Selena pretended not to understand. She didn't need it. This lyrical episode Selena hid in the farthest corner of her memory. She decided not to tell anyone about it, and especially not to that lanky mop, Selena thought. The girl's memories were interrupted by Jessica's exasperated scream. What's her problem there? Wondered Selena, and a moment later joined her stepmother. Harvey was lying in the hallway, giving no sign of life. The man's face was so white that the daughter thought the worst. "No, not again," thought Selena in despair. "No, Daddy, no. I won't survive if anything happens to you." "First, Mom, then." "I think I'm alive," Jessica stammered, and for the first time she heard something human in her voice. "We should call an ambulance." "I'll call an ambulance right away," Selena said and ran into the room to get the phone. "What's wrong with him?" The girl shook the ambulance doctor. "Most likely a stroke," he answered. "Maybe an aneurysm." "But he'll live?" Jessica asked. "We'll do everything we can," the doctor said. "Who will accompany him?" "Me," said the wife. "I'm the wife." "Good," nodded the nurse and explained what to take with him. "Maybe I should go too," Selena sobbed. "I think one chaperone will be enough." The doctor shook his head, and Jessica's heart was relieved. Despite the criticality of the situation, she had a plan. Selena's presence in the hospital jeopardized her plan. Harvey had an aneurysm, as reported by her stepmother when she returned from the hospital. It was past 3 in the morning, but Selena was awake. The girl was desperately afraid that her father would die. Then her stepmother would certainly not let her live. Would he live? Selena wondered. He would, Jessica nodded tiredly. "Selena, let's talk in the morning, okay? I'm exhausted." "Yes, of course," yawned the girl and went to her room. In the morning, the stepmother was unusually glum and, as it seemed to Selena, a little frightened. Was she? "Is it something with Daddy?" the girl asked. It was the first thing that came to her mind. "Daddy's unchanged," Jessica spoke softly. "Selena, there's a conversation." "Yes, I'm listening." "Well, Dad's been operated on, but there's more surgery to come, and it's not free. You know, medication, rehab." "What's the big deal?" Selena's confused. "So you have to pay?" "Dad has money on his card, and I know the PIN code. He told me just in case." "Which is now," the girl added bitterly to herself. "Unfortunately, Selena, it's not that kind of money," Jessica said sadly, pouring herself some tea. "It's a huge amount of money." "And how huge?" "But something has to be done," her stepdaughter exclaimed when she told her the amount. It was indeed a lot of money. "Of course we have to do something," nodded the stepmother. "And I think I know what it is." "Well, you see, Celine, it's up to you." "I'll do my best," the girl assured her. "What do you want me to do?" "Spend the night with the oligarch." "Are you kidding?" "It seems to me that our situation is not at all disposed to jokes," said Jessica, lighting a cigarette. "What do you take me for?" Selena asked indignantly. "A girl who would do anything to save her father," her stepmother said nonchalantly. "You see, we have no other choice anyway. We can't raise that kind of money. And if we try to get a loan—" "My dear, who would approve such a sum?" Selena sighed heavily. It looked like there was really no way out. "And when?" she asked her stepmother. "When what?" "Oh, that. I'll talk to someone today and I'll let you know. But you know, the sooner the better." "Yes, I understand. I'll go to my room. My head hurts. I'm exhausted." Selena, as if in a dream, reached her bed and collapsed. And when she woke up, Jessica came into her room. "Tomorrow is X day, or rather X night," she said in a businesslike tone. "Any word on Dad?" "Dad is still unconscious," Jessica replied with a sigh. "I see," sighed her stepdaughter. Selena stood at the mirror, and it seemed to her that some stranger was looking at her. "She is," she thought. Selena was wearing a black evening dress that added 3 or 4 years to her age, and shoes with extremely high heels. The peach-colored makeup emphasized the freshness of her skin and was to Selena's liking. And if not for the dull expression on her face, from the outside you could think that she was going to a restaurant or theater. "Well, she's beautiful." Jessica, who appeared behind her, splashed her hands. "Beautiful. The oligarch will definitely appreciate it." Selena grinned unhappily. It was the first compliment her stepmother had ever paid her. Her stepmother's cell phone rang, announcing Johnny's arrival. "Yes, darling?" Jessica sang out. "The lady's ready." Actually, the oligarch lived in the neighboring yard, but the stepmother said it was bad form to come to the man on foot. "Well, let's go with God," Jessica admonished her stepdaughter, giving her a light white coat. The oligarch turned out to be a handsome tan brunette of about 25. So young and already an oligarch, marveled the girl. However, how could she know at what age oligarchs became oligarchs? Besides, he might have inherited the business from his father. "You can hang your coat here," smiled white-toothed client, giving Selena shoulders. "And you're beautiful." "Thank you," she smiled shyly. "You can keep your shoes on," said the oligarch. A nice man, Selena decided. Only his upbringing seems to be a problem. When did he and I get on a first-name basis? And when Selena realized what was wrong, she felt uneasy. "I'ma call girl to him," Selena thought regretfully. "It's a shame. He seems cool." The girl herself didn't understand why she regretted it, but that was indeed the case. This way, the oligarch gestured to the door of one of the rooms. The first thing Selena saw was a huge bed that could easily fit 5 people. The sight of the bed confused the unsophisticated girl, and she decided that she could use some riskier behavior. Selena plumped down on the bed and looked at the man, smiling through her strength. Apparently, the oligarch liked it. He sat down next to her and, tucking away a curl of the girl's hair, asked, "What is your name?" There was tenderness in the oligarch's voice, and Selena thought for a second that she had arrived on a date with her favorite man. "You're dreaming," she told herself, but smiled more confidently. "Celine," the girl replied, "and I'm Nanny." The oligarch introduced himself. "Would you like some champagne?" "I would," Selena said coquettishly, and only then noticed a small, beautifully set coffee table. Nanny poured champagne into glasses, handed one to Selena, and keeping his eyes on her, said, "Your beauty is breathtaking, so fresh, delicate, and very sexy." The last word made Selena blush, but the oligarch did not seem to notice it. It was obvious that Nanny couldn't wait to get down to what Selena had come to him for, and everything inside her clenched painfully. The man took the glass from Selena's hands and, clearly anticipating unearthly pleasure, set it on the table. But as soon as he put his hand on her shoulder, Selena cried bitterly. "Why are you doing this?" The oligarch marveled. "Have I done something to offend you?" At first, Nanny thought that these tears were an act. Probably, the girl was explaining what he wanted, so she decided to let a tear. Well, spectacular. Such a seductive beauty, Nanny is ready to comfort around the clock. But when he realized that no game was out of the question, he was seriously confused. "No," Selena shook her head. "You didn't hurt me in any way. It's only my second time." "This is your second order?" Nanny asked, perplexed. "It's no big deal. I didn't ask for an experienced girl. I needed someone like you." "No," she sobbed. "It's just that I only had once with a boy." Selena sobbed even more bitterly. "I don't get it. Who did Johnny send me?" "Johnny who?" she asked through her tears. Nanny said, "I'm going to call Johnny now and—" "No," Selena exclaimed. She couldn't help realizing that if this Nanny called some Johnny, there would be no money. "Please don't. It's Jessica. My dad's sick. I need money, and I'll tell you everything. Just don't call." "What, Jessica?" The oligarch was astonished and with a sigh told her, "Tell me." And Selena, swallowing tears, began her confused story. Nanny listened to her and left the room. He returned about 5 minutes later. In the hands of the oligarch was an impressive wad of bills. "Take the money and leave," Nanny said deeply. "You're just going to give me money like that?" The girl didn't believe it. "That's exactly right. Take it and go, or I might change my mind." Selena nodded and slowly got up from the bed and headed for the exit. "Wait," the oligarch stopped her. "Are you really going to leave?" "Why did he tell me to leave then?" The girl thought perplexedly and shrugged her shoulders. "And why not? It's nighttime. You could lie down here. I'll sleep in the study." "No. Thank you," Selena refused. "Then I'll call a cab." "I only have to go across the yard." She waved her hand, remembering the cab driver's disgruntled face. No. Nanny smiled involuntarily. "Aren't there a lot of assholes out there? There's no telling what they have in mind." After paying the cab driver, Selena sank down on the bench in exhaustion. As she pulled her keys out of her purse, she fumbled for a wad of money and cried again. Selena wondered, where did Jessica get such familiarity? The answer was obvious. just as it was obvious that the marriage to her father was an opportunity for her stepmother to start a new life. Well, she'd succeeded. Almost. The girl realized that as she went home, Jessica would take the money from her, and there was no telling where it would end up. No, Selena would take it to the hospital and give it to the right person. She went up to the 4th floor and called Ariana's apartment. At first, Ariana thought she was dreaming and covered herself with her head. But the call grew more insistent, and the young woman mentally scowled. Who could it be? She thought unhappily. Did Jack really bring the devil? Ariana had given him the runaround 2 weeks ago, but the beau had turned out to be terribly egotistical. Vlad spent hours at the door, and as soon as he had a drink, he'd start calling. In the end, Ariana blacklisted her ex, but Jack wasn't embarrassed. If I don't open the door, he'll wake up the whole entryway. Ariana thought wistfully and reluctantly headed for the door. When she saw Selena through the peephole, the dream was gone. Something was wrong with Harvey's daughter. Now, Ariana said as she unlocked the locks and bolts. Ariana, may I come in? The girl sobbed. Yes, of course. Come in, invited the neighbor. Is something wrong? Selena nodded and said, That Jessica. She's not human. What did she do to you? Why don't you come into the kitchen? I'll give you some tea. Peppermint, soothing. The girl sighed heavily. No tea could make her forget the shame she had recently suffered. Yeah, history. Ariana shook her head when her young friend told her what had happened. She had never sympathized with the blonde, but this. After all, Selena was still just a child. At least the oligarch was a decent man. Ariana, can I ask you something? The girl asked. There was so much hope in Selena's voice that only a very thick-skinned person could refuse her. Yes, of course, the older friend hastened to assure her. Could you come with me to the hospital to see my dad? Because I'm scared. What if Jessica or some of her friends catch me and take my money? We'll definitely go to the hospital to see your dad, Ariana smiled. But you might want to get a couple hours of sleep first. Go get some rest. I've made a bed for you in the hall. Thank you, Celine said quietly, taking the nice woman's hand in hers. I don't seem to be doing anything special, she shrugged. Neighbors are supposed to help each other. So, you're welcome. There is, the girl strongly objected. Some neighbors won't even turn a deaf ear if someone gets killed. So thank you for being here. Selena's eyes drifted closed, and she went to bed. After all, she had a long day ahead of her. Meanwhile, Selena's stepmother was having the worst time of her life. Jessica woke up to someone unceremoniously tugging on her shoulder. A man's voice barked in her ear. The young woman opened her eyes and was stunned. Johnny was standing in front of her. He was accompanied by 2 thugs. Where's the girl? The business partner shouted. The girl? Jessica asked dazedly. The girl, Johnny confirmed. What the hell is going on? The young woman exclaimed indignantly. What the hell is going on? They broke in like thieves, lined up by the bed, and she wasn't dressed, by the way. But that was the least of Jessica's worries. Johnny was asking about Selena. What would that mean? What's going on is that you, Jessica, seem to have decided to ditch me, Johnny said curtly. And as you know, I don't like that. So what do I do with you? First of all, to get to the bottom of the situation, Jessica said icily, pulling herself together. Oh, Selena, she's not a bad girl, she'll go far. Unless they stop her. What's the matter? What's with the harassment? Hey, Johnny, one of the big boys spoke up. What if she ain't really in on it? Of course not, Jessica said. Do I look like an idiot? No, Johnny had to admit. According to him, the oligarch had paid off Selena and she had disappeared to an unknown destination without waiting for Johnny. Interesting movie, Jessica said thoughtfully. Why did he give the money to Selena and not you? We have an arrangement with this client, Johnny explained. An arrangement, she mocked. Don't make too much of an arrangement. Well, what's the big deal? The purveyor of love. The client is a proven one, but your girl. Johnny looked meaningfully at Jessica. The young woman knew exactly what he meant. So Jessica, it's your fault, Johnny summarized. It's simple. You find the girl, she gives us the money we're owed. Everybody's happy, everybody's satisfied. Well, and if there's no girl, then beautiful, look for the money. Understand? Jessica nodded doomedly. cursing herself with her last words. Why the hell had she agreed to this deal? What the hell was she missing? If she decided to start a new life, she shouldn't have gotten involved in any of these dubious activities. What's the point of beating herself up? We gotta find Selena and get that money out of her. Maybe you have some idea where the girl is. One of Johnny's men suggested it. Maybe she's at the neighbors across the street. Jessica shrugged and got out of bed. I can go. Sit down, shouted the former business partner and turned to one of the thugs. Leshy, go check. Leshy returned about 10 minutes later. The apartment was quiet, he reported. Well, girlfriend, Johnny summarized. You're lucky if you find the girl. Or, alternatively, the money. You got 3 days. The men left, and Jessica wrapped her arms around her head. Selena could take the money to Harvey's hospital. She'd tell the attending physician that she found the money and, pardon me, young lady, what big money are we talking about? Billy, Harvey's attending physician, exclaimed in surprise. Harvey Stone regained consciousness this morning, and although still weak, he is definitely on the mend. Of course, he'll need medication, of course, and some things will have to be added, but I assure you it won't cost a fortune. Really? Selena asked incredulously. Honestly, Pioneer, smiled Sadowski. And, can I see him? The girl asked hopefully. Well, go, but not for long. After some thought, the doctor replied, and put on a robe. Will you wait? She turned to Ariana. Of course. Selena tiptoed into the room and did not immediately realize that the man lying on the bed was her father. Harvey seemed small to her daughter, and her father's head was bandaged. Daddy, Selena said fondly. How do you frighten us? Daughter, Harvey whispered weakly. And Jessica? She'll be here later, Selena whispered back, squeezing his hand. Her father nodded, closing his eyes, and the girl realized he was tired. Rest, she said quietly, and I will come to see you every day. How is Dad? Asked Ariana. He does seem to be on the mend, smiled Selena and added hatefully, Jessica, you bastard. And Daddy asked about her. I hate her. Don't think about her, Ariana advised. The main thing is that your father is better, and everything else will work out. Golden words, Selena replied. Just try not to think about that white-haired chicken. The girl looked toward the exit, and Ariana involuntarily glanced there as well. Jessica walked into the hospital. Selena, I need to talk to you, the stepmother blurted out. Her voice sounded strained. Talk, the stepdaughter shrugged indifferently. I have no secrets from Ariana. Selena, it would be best if I did step aside, the neighbor said. I'm listening, Selena nodded. I need money, Jessica said. You show me a person who doesn't need it, the girl grinned. What, do you believe in yourself? Hissed the stepmother, looking at Selena with hatred. Where's the money, you little shit? There will be money for you, she promised, but you pack your things and get the hell out of here. I don't think Daddy's gonna be happy when he finds out you've been renting me out. What the hell was I thinking? Where's the money? Choke on it, exclaimed the little wretch, and taking a wad of bills out of her purse, threw it at her stepmother's face with relish. I don't want anyone else's. Don't forget to pack your things and clear the room of your person. Otherwise, I'll report our little incident to the police. And I don't think you're gonna want that. Jessica grabbed the money, stashed it in her bag, and hurried out of the treatment facility. Let Johnny have a bite, she thought vindictively. He's got the wrong one. Won't barge in without asking. Jessica figured that the money would be enough to entrench herself in Vashniktunk. Johnny wouldn't get her from there. His hands were too short for the capital. Harvey was getting better by the hour. Within a week, he was feeling fine. Selena, where's Jessica? Did something happen? Harvey asked, looking intently at his daughter. As a matter of fact, it did, she nodded. I don't know how to tell you. You can't worry right now. Oh, daughter, I'm already worried. There's no telling what's worse than bad news or the unknown, so just tell it like it is. It can't get any worse. Did you two have a fight? We had a fight too. But that's not the point, Selena sighed and told her father. Harvey turned pale and clenched his fists. Papu, are you sick? Frightened asked the girl. And why did I only tell you? It's all right, said the father quietly. It's all my fault. I fell in love like a boy, and this is the result. Selena stroked his shoulder and said affectionately, Don't blame yourself. You just wanted us to have a family. Well, you made a mistake in choosing a life partner. It happens. You're kind. And I'm also smart, proudly replied the daughter. You can't argue with that either, Harvey agreed. You don't have to. You should look at Ariana. She's a golden woman. Selena visited her father every day. Sometimes she came with Ariana, and Harvey involuntarily followed his daughter's advice. She's really very nice and pretty too. How did I never notice that before? Ariana was a little overweight, but it was a pleasant and very feminine fullness. And what a pretty face she had. You couldn't take your eyes off her. Selena noticed the glances her father threw at Ariana and was pleased to note that her older friend was getting better every day. Something is going to happen, the girl thought, and her heart sank with joy. She wanted so much to make the two people she cared about happy. So maybe it made sense to speed up the process. Ariana, Selena said in an innocent voice, could you go to your dad's without me today? You see, I have to go to school today to get my textbooks for next school year, and Dad needs to bring a change of underwear. Okay, Ariana replied, and Selena was ready to swear that her neighbor was pleased. You should have seen the sparkle in her eyes. No matter what you tell me, it's love, thought Selena gleefully. And in the evening, she arrived at her father's house, and opening the door of the chamber, she could scarcely restrain an exclamation of amazement. Harvey and Ariana were kissing. Quickly, Daddy forgot his blonde beauty. The girl grinned to herself. She walked delicately out of the room and then knocked. Come in, they said in unison. A few days later, Harvey was discharged. He spent a lot of time with Ariana, and the day came when he talked of starting a family. You haven't forgotten anything, have you? Laughed the new lover. Harvey knew what she meant. First, we need to formalize the divorce from Jessica, but where to find her? File a BLLO, and that's it, Selena remarked. A couple weeks later, Harvey learned that the former spouse is no longer alive. According to the investigation, she was killed by the people of a former business partner, a certain Johnny. Jessica Stone was seen at the airport, and then, according to eyewitnesses, she was approached by some types in a black Jeep and took away in an unknown direction. Well, the picture is clear, said the insightful Selena. What she wanted, she got. I feel sorry for her, Ariana admitted. Such a ridiculous ending. Everyone has their own way, Harvey said philosophically. A month later, Harvey and Ariana were married. It's about time, said Angelica, who had also been invited to the wedding. Only a blind man would not see that you are simply made for each other. Selena was also very happy for her father and her older friend, but it was only the beginning. After a while, the newlyweds gave Selena some truly amazing news. She was going to have a baby brother or sister. This is news, exclaimed the girl. Are you happy? Ariana asked. You're still asking. The baby was born right on the day of Selena's graduation party, so she had a double celebration. The boy was named John. After the wedding, Harvey went to live with his wife, leaving Selena a 2-bedroom apartment. Own it, the father said with a smile as he handed his daughter the deed of gift. After graduating from high school, Selena applied to college, giving preference to the specialty management of organizations. The term of study was 3 years, but in her plans was also a university. After graduating from the technical school, Selena decided to work and study at the correspondence department of the institute. She graduated with honors, and a month later she got a job in a small confectionery company, Snow White. But with the university was a misfire, but Selena did not think to be discouraged. Having worked for a year and a half as a manager in Snow White, Selena Stone realized that she wanted to work in a larger organization. The pay was decent, but apart from the salary, the ambitious girl was interested in career prospects. If you have worked in a large company, you know about the hierarchy of managers. That is, that there are lower and middle managers, as well as crisis managers, top managers, and other business ladies and gentlemen. And such companies also have the sales, marketing department, and much more. In addition, the management of large firms, as a rule, give their employees the opportunity to get higher education without taking time off work. And here Selena will not miss her. In the staff of the firm Snow White, in addition to its owner, worked 3 managers, 2 movers, and a cleaner. So career growth was not foreseen. Therefore, Selena, faithfully performing the duties of the manager, every day monitored the internet for a vacancy manager in some large company. Soon such a vacancy came up and Selena, without wasting any time, signed up for an interview. And miraculously, she passed. To tell you the truth, when she went to the interview, she was prepared to be rejected. What was Selena's surprise when she found out she was accepted? "That can't be," exclaimed the girl when she got the call. "Well, why not?" The manager objected with a smile. "If you came to us, then you must have thought otherwise." "Yes, I guess so," Selena agreed. "I'm just so excited I don't know what." "Don't worry, everything will work out." But no matter how much she dreamed of working in a reputable firm, she was suddenly afraid. After all, Selena was going to talk to her boss, Mickey. The boss was a good-looking man, a fair boss and a kind soul, so she was partly troubled by remorse. If Mickey had been a bore and a bully, that would have made it a lot easier. But there was nothing to do. If Selena decided to change jobs, she had to go all the way. The next day after the interview, the girl, having written the appropriate application, went to Mickey. Well, he nodded. "I can't say I'm happy about it, but I saw it coming." Selena realized it was going to be easier than she thought, and it was like a mountain had fallen from her shoulders. "Really?" she asked with relief. "Really," Mickey confirmed. "I can see you're getting a little cramped here, so I won't hold you back. But I want you to know that if things go wrong in your new job, I'll be happy to take you back. I need people like that." "Thanks, Mickey. I'll keep that in mind," Selena smiled. Selena was excited about her new job. The trainings, the seminars, the opportunity not only to work. When Selena cried, he wanted to hold her close and protect her from the world. He was beginning to realize that there was something wrong with this girl. Though, in fact, nothing out of the ordinary. The story told by a young beauty with reddish curls, not so rare. And yet everything in Yuri rebelled. What kind of idiot would think of renting out such a girl? Did he have no brains at all, or heart? The young oligarch suspected that more likely the second. After that incident, Nanny gave up on love for sale. He often thought about that girl, and those thoughts drove him crazy. Sometimes Nanny caught himself thinking that he had let the young beauty go for nothing. What if she needed help? He wondered. "I don't think I got her from a good life." At first, he wanted to look for Selena, but he changed his mind. Well, he would find her. And then what? The girl was hardly more than 18, and Nanny preferred to date women of a closer age. But Selena never left his mind. From time to time, Nanny had thoughts of hiring a professional to find the mysterious green-eyed beauty. Then the girl said she lived in the neighbor's yard, so the search would definitely not take long. But a lot of work, and he never got the chance to call a private detective. But who would have thought that it was through work that he would find the one he had been thinking about day and night for 6 whole years? Having received on email resumes of applicants, Makovetsky did not believe his eyes. This is nothing short of a miracle, thought Nanny, looking at Selena's photo. The fate of the girl was decided even before she came not to the interview. Makovetsky turned off the computer and left the office. "This girl will be mine," he decided, "whatever it costs me." Despite the fact that it was beginning to be December, it seemed to Selena that it was the middle of March. The city was decked out for New Year's Eve, with Christmas trees of all the colors of the rainbow flash here and there, but it all looked like the ultimate mockery. A cold, penetrating wind was blowing, and the rain and snow were not conducive to a New Year's mood. God forbid the weather will be like this on New Year's Eve, thought Selena, wrapping herself in her fur coat. What was going on outside matched her state of mind. Wow. And she thought she had forgotten that oligarch. Who would have thought Nanny would be her boss? Maybe it's fate, she thought. Selena, of course, realized that it was unlikely that such a man was lonely, but was it impossible to dream? Especially since New Year's Eve was coming soon. After dinner, Selena decided to visit her father, Ariana, and her little brother. She couldn't stay at home, and she wanted to talk to someone. "How was your first day at work?" Harvey asked. "Good," Selena answered briefly, and her father and stepmother looked at her. "You look a little excited," Ariana said. "Oh," Ariana shook her head and told her who her boss was. "So what?" snorted the father. "Why all the fuss? Your boss knows that you are not the one you were brought to him as delivered. Something, daughter, I don't understand you." "You men don't understand anything," Ariana smiled. You can't see beyond your own nose. Why don't you go see what John's doing? Harvey left the kitchen and stepmother winked slyly at Selena. You're in love, aren't you? Yes, she confessed and sobbed. But you shouldn't be so damn. Ariana said admonishingly. Why are you crying? You really don't understand anything, do you? Selena sobbed. Who is he and whom am I? You're stupid. That's who the stepmother stated. Yes, he is rich, successful, runs a large company, but you did not find yourself on the garbage dump. You have everything ahead of you, and personally, I think that you will achieve a lot. So cheer up, Selena. The next day, the boss called Selena back to his office. You did? She asked. Well, why so formal? Nanny said with a smile, pointing to Selena's chair. Let's just say I did. Is something wrong? She asked the first thing that came to mind. You tell me if something's wrong. I'm just starting to work, so I'll take criticism normally and I'll be glad to receive any advice. Well, commendable. The boss smiled even wider. But I want to talk to you not about work. What is it? Selena, I want to invite you to a restaurant. Me? Yes, to celebrate the start of work. Selena suddenly remembered how Nanny had poured her champagne. She took a sip and, I wonder how it would have ended if I hadn't lost my nerve. Thought Selena, and to her own annoyance, blushed deeply. Why am I like a schoolgirl? She got angry with herself and said, minting every word, Nanny, I realize, of course, that you can fire me, but I have my dignity. Let's agree that our relationship will not go beyond the workplace. Having said that, Selena abruptly turned around and left the office of the boss, without noticing the curious look of the secretary. But I love you, Nanny said quietly, alone. His friends didn't recognize Nanny. He refused to party and sit in the sauna, and when they told him that there would be very hot things, he only shrugged his shoulders. Nanny didn't need any hot stuff. He wanted Selena. Apparently, one bachelor would soon be less, Naomi Kurapov said meaningfully. If only everything were so simple. Makovetsky sincerely did not understand what flybit Selena. Yes, any woman would consider it an honor to be in her place. Well, what did he do wrong? Nanny guessed that it's all about that story 6 years ago. But what had happened? Nothing had happened between them, and so could it be? That's it. It dawned on Nanny. I'm such an asshole. She thinks that I treat her as a woman of easy behavior, so I invited her to the restaurant. Makovetsky ordered a basket of flowers and a card with apologies. I hope now that the ice will melt, he thought hopefully. Upon receiving the basket of flowers and the card, Selena was distraught. It seemed her boss had taken her rebuke too personally. Wow, what flowers, remarked her colleague Marina. You already have an admirer. Promptly, there's nothing to say. Selena was well aware that her colleagues were guessing who this mysterious admirer was. The chatty secretary had already spread the word around the office. Good start to work, I can't say. Selena thought, annoyed. A little over a week on the job, and I've already had all my bones washed out. Will I have to look for another job? Please, exclaimed her stepmother when Selena told her about it. An office is an office. It was, it is, and it will be. Don't mind it. That's easy to say, sighed the girl, and easy to do. Everything will be stirred up. There will be flour. For now, with an accent on the U. Stop moping. Better tell me what you bought for the New Year's corporate party. Ariana was trying her best to get her stepdaughter out of her slump, and I think she's succeeding. And not only will I tell you, but I'll show you, Selena smiled. It's great. Come here. The outfit, bought for the corporate party, was really great. Snow white, flared down dress beautifully fit slender girl's figure. Sleeves of lace gave the festive outfit femininity and made it romantic. Shall we dance? With a smile invited a tall, searing brunette. He seemed to work in the marketing department. Why not? Selena smiled back. You're beautiful, the brunette whispered, all in white. Are you trying to pass for chaste? Before Selena realized that the young man was drunk, he started kissing her. Let go, the girl shouted angrily. And the mayor is a burly mayor, mockingly said the marketer. Well, nothing. I have not such screwed up. I'm not a filly, cut Selena. And who is? Or are we only with the boss pliable? What happened next reminded her of a scene from a movie. Nanny grabbed the hapless suitor by the chest and demanded that he apologize to Selena. Or what will happen, Mr. Boss? The brunette asked with a sneer. Dismissed, Makovetsky thundered and sharply let go of the employee. He could not resist and fell down. And this I will not leave like this. Rising up, said the marketer. I will complain about you, Mr. Manny, to the labor inspectorate, even to the president, through Makovetsky and turned to Selena. Well, how are you? I'm fine, she mumbled and headed for the exit. Where are you going? Nanny asked with surprise and, not noticing the mocking looks of his subordinates, rushed after her. Celine, but wait a minute. Makovetsky appealed in vain. But the girl paid no attention to him. Lord, shame on her. After all, she had just become the laughingstock of the whole office. Selena, well, what's wrong again? In despair asked Makovetsky, catching up with her near the closet. Night wanted to appear. Unkindly squinting her eyes, she asked. Thank you. Consider it appreciated. Now there will be enough talk for a year. Is that what this is about? Selena, it's no big deal, she said, putting on her coat. Nanny just waved his hand and went back to the dance hall. Who will understand them? These women, he thought. This new year, Nanny Makovetsky met in proud solitude. He did not want to see anyone except, well, no, it's unrealistic. Why is it unrealistic? Rebelled the businessman, having finished the third glass of expensive champagne and not enjoying the drink. Nanny took a bag out of the closet, filled it with sweets, fruit, and completing the present with a bottle of sparkling wine, left the house. He knew Selena's address from her personal file. The girl really lived near the house in which Makovetsky used to live. Now it's a long way away. Calling a cab on New Year's Eve is not an easy task, but maybe some bomber would turn up. Nanny made a wish. If he could find a car quickly, he and Selena would be fine. And by chance, an old Toyota pulled up next to him. Where are we going? The elderly driver asked cheerfully. Makovetsky named the address. Well, the driver of the Toyota shook his head with a smile. I just live nearby. So let's go, rejoiced Nanny. There was silence in Selena's apartment. What a mess. Disappointed, thought Makovetsky. It turns out that I went for nothing. What an asshole. She's a young girl, probably celebrating New Year's Eve with her friends, maybe even with a young man. Suddenly, there were cheerful voices from the door across the hall. He was ready to swear that one of those voices belonged to Selena. Nanny pressed the bell button with determination. Who is it? Asked a pleasant female voice. I'm a friend of Selena's. Is she in? The door swung open instantly. Let's say, smiled an interesting woman with kind, radiant eyes. But who are you? I. With excitement, Nanny couldn't utter a word. Celine stood behind the woman and held the hand of a baby, rubbing her sleepy little eyes. She has a child, thought Makovetsky with surprise. Strange, there's no mention of a child in her personal file. Nanny, what are you doing here? Selena asked. And I, Selena, came to congratulate, he replied decisively, and to apologize at the same time. I hope not to drive away. We certainly won't, said the woman, who opened the door with a smile. They sat down at the table, and the host began to feed the guest. Nanny, try the horseradish, Ariana suggested. It's delicious. I'd love to try your collards, smiled Makovetsky. An hour later, the mistress of the house winked at her husband and said that it would be good to go for a walk. Harvey at first looked perplexed at his wife, but then, having realized, said, with pleasure. Nanny, why are you here? Selena asked when they were alone. I told you to congratulate and apologize, he smiled, for everything. But then at the corporate party, I feel awfully bad about the way that asshole talked like that to the one I love. I guess I fell in love with you back then. Do you think they got anywhere? Harvey asked her wife. I think so, Ariana replied with a chuckle. 40 minutes have passed. I'm freezing, by the way. Selena whispered Nanny, reluctantly pulling away from his lover's lips. Why don't we go to my place? We can take the baby with us. The baby? Selena stared at him blankly. Wait, you mean John? I don't know. He hasn't been introduced to me. But I guess so. But why? The girl was surprised. Well, what about it? Nanny blurted out, "I think the child is better off with its mother." When Selena finally realized what he meant, she laughed. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Did I say something funny?" Nanny asked when Selena calmed down a little. "The baby is better off with its mother, you said." She giggled. "So let it be with its mother. John is my brother, the son of my stepmother Ariana and my father. Here they are, by the way." There was indeed the rattle of a key at the door. "Happy New Year," said Harvey and Ariana, who had already realized that the negotiations had been successful. That night, Selena left with Nanny. They talked until dawn and realized that they needed each other. Then one morning, Selena didn't return to her apartment. It was the morning after her wedding to Nanny.